Welcome to My Wellness Pie. I'm your host, Monica Petrowski. Here, I unearth the tips, tricks, hacks, and how-tos from thought leaders and experts in wellness. From leading nutritionists to world champion athletes, biohackers, and health pioneers, I get the juice from the gurus so that you have what you need to live your best life. Plus, I'll share with you some of my own experiences that have led me around the world seeking new ways to nurture the body and mind. So for anyone wanting some inspiration and motivation for a happier and healthier life, tune in and subscribe because all you need is a little slice of wellness. Today I'm joined by Jason Gilbert. Jason has been a sports physician with the World Surfing League for 20 years. He specialises in the restoration of biomechanical function, both for athletes and those who have lost it due to inadequate postural problems. Jason is also a biohacker and a human performance optimizer. After overcoming his own challenges and ridding his body of mercury, he now runs detox programs and teaches others the techniques they can implement in the day-to-day lives as well as more complex procedures for detoxification. With 10 clinics across South America, as well as treating patients in Australia, Jason has a wealth of experience that allows him to coach people at any stage back to health, in a one-on-one situation or through his retreats and seminars. He joins me here today and we are talking all about biohacking and detoxification. Hi, Jason, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Monica. How are you?
Good, thank you. So you've certainly managed to fit a lot into the last 2 decades. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I would say probably 3 main factors. Our family had a health food store when I was a kid and I used to work there. So I used to meet incredible people. I was actually really impressed, inspired by elderly people who were like 80 and 90 but looking good, with a good posture and good energy. So that was definitely one very strong influence. The other one was having back pain, suffering back pain from a very young age and accepting it as normal. Yeah, every time I'd run or play rugby or surf, I'd have back pain. And it was only when I was like 17 that I discovered that that was not necessary through chiropractic. That was the recommendation of Tom Carroll, an ex-world surfing champ, in the water one day. So that was a huge influence, and that's what put me on the course for helping people and learning about the spine and being fascinated by that. And the third one would be mercury toxicity. I had my mercury fillings removed incorrectly. I was home one year and I wanted it done fast, so my local dentist did that, and he wasn't equipped for that. Back then, actually, I don't think people had much of a knowledge of just how dangerous that was, and that actually gave me a severe mercury toxicity. One of the doctors in Sydney said that he'd only seen one person worse than me, and that was the guy who used to paint the Harbour Bridge for 25 years. So they're the 3 things, I guess, and from that I was just very lucky to meet key people, and it took 8 years to do the full detox and get myself back to being in a healthy state. But once you're there, it's like I really apologise about this light here, it's just you want to share it with everybody. You know, you want to share what you've been through, and you know that the state of energy of other people really isn't necessary. There's always causes for the way we're feeling, and too many of us accept it as a defect, whether it be genetic or just my body. They don't actually try and invest in the time necessary to change their diet, exercise and mind state to really see the results. You know, so in a nutshell, I'd say that was it.
It's really interesting to hear you say that. I mean, you'd gone for such a long time of just accepting it and thinking that feeling of inadequate health was normal. So what was it that ultimately drove you to make that change and to see someone about it?
I would say, if you're talking symptom-wise, I would say that it was chronic fatigue, chronic diarrhea, chronic intestinal problems, malabsorption, like food passing through your body whole. And what really was the last one was the foggy brain. I'd be talking with somebody and halfway through a phrase, I'd forget what I was saying. So that's when you get to the point you think this is pretty serious. Now, what's quite anguishing is that you go to, your local well-meaning doctors, okay, and responsible doctors, but within their paradigm, there was nothing that could diagnose what I had. So if I went there and, for example, did a stool sample or blood tests and it was all clear, well, I had nothing and it was psychological, And as a chiropractor over here, a sports chiropractor in South America for 20 years, it was a similar type thing, You'd get people every day coming in and simply because another health professional couldn't diagnose what they had nothing,
Yeah.
So I guess it got to that point where no, I do have something, I'm going to have to go outside the box. I often tell people that if they do come in young, the younger you are, when you find out if you have something serious, the better, because it's just giving you so much time not only to cure it, but also learn what you've got to do to keep yourself healthy. Because most people only really think about their health when they lose it.
Yeah, so what did that entail? What did the road to recovery look like for you?
After many consultations with many doctors, I did a live blood analysis. Yeah, and the live blood analysis showed that I had a huge amount of candida in the blood. Now, most people won't think about doing live blood to diagnose candida, but it's there and you'll see it, and that scared me. And the doctor was actually a neurologist. He'd been a neurologist for 50 years and just started to dedicate the last 20 years to live blood analysis. And he just said, look, you've got some, prostatic things going on and a hormonal issue. And then I went straight away. I'm a young guy who does sport and eats well. So to do my hormones, and my testosterone was way low, and luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone was really high, and it shouldn't be. So what's going on? So when you have that sort of an issue, you look at the pituitary gland, did the MRI, there was no tumour, but what they say often with mercury is that it can affect the membrane of the pituitary gland without actually calcifying it, because that often happens. So that can alter the hormones, and throw a lot of things out. So look, it's a crossword. I did a spermogram, that was really low, which was frightening low for someone my age. And just all of these things lead you to a certain place. So treatment-wise, what we did, and it was quite surprising, we treated the candida first. Now, before that, I'd been quite anguished as well, trying to figure out how I'd treat chronic candida. And what surprised me, you can see it on the live blood analysis, is just alkalizing your blood. And that's all we did. We just did sodium bicarbonate drips, intravenous drips. In 2 weeks, candida gone. You'd have to see that to believe it. And I often speak to people who've battled with that for years, and they're talking about sugar and flour. And, of course, I was off all that anyway, but it was that severe that wasn't enough to do that. So we did that. And then if you're looking at chelation of a heavy metal, you've got quite a few ways to do it. But I wanted to go aggressive because my levels were extremely high. So I did something called a DMPS challenge test. That's for mercury and other heavy metals. It was high, so I used the same testing procedure as my treatment, because it's a chelate, or a chelate, some people say. And that was a very, very long procedure. That was years and years.
Yeah, right.
So the mercury has a half-life in your body, I think, of 8 years.
Wow, okay. Right. And so now you run detox programs helping other people who are suffering from toxicity and hormonal-related issues overcome this. So tell me a little bit about that. What do your programs entail?
Isn't it funny? The word detox is it's loosely used, in the press and in magazines and things like that. And a lot of people think that detox is a green juice. So while that's important and while that really helped me a lot, but that's not what I'd focus on. What we always start with at a workshop or a retreat is that people need to understand the true definition of health. And if you ask most people, they will tell you that health is the way they feel or the way they look. Yeah, and I'll often say that, okay, there's many people that wake up this morning feeling great, and unfortunately they're dead by the end of the day of a heart attack, and that's the first time their body's ever shown them in any way, shape or form that they have a cardiac problem. So that's a really bad way of doing it. And there's a lot of people with cancer, they'll tell you they're feeling great and then they'll diagnose with a skin cancer, for example, or some other cancer. And then there's the people you think like Patrick Swayze or Farrah Fawcett, not long before they died, they were looking really good. And Patrick Swayze had a pancreatic tumour, so you can't judge that either. So if people understand what the true definition of health is, and that is 100% cell function, that's homeostasis, then they've got a better chance of maintaining it, okay? Because if they think, oh, it's the way they look, well, you know, if they're looking good, if their friends and family tell them they're looking good, well, they won't do much, you know. So from that, and as I said, education's a really important part of detox because people are going to continue with that, and they will need to keep that very clear in their mind that to have health, you have to have a sufficiency of nutrients, okay, and you have to have toxins, 0 or minimum, okay? Good luck with that in these modern times, okay? So there's chemicals everywhere, our air's not clean, there's pesticides in our veggies and food, and if people do eat food that isn't fresh, well, it's full of chemicals to preserve it, and you know, so on. Everyone knows that at least. But I sit down and spend quite a bit of time teaching them what a toxin is and what a nutrient is. Okay, so people often wouldn't associate bad sleep with being a toxin. Okay, for sure it is. It's probably one of the worst. People wouldn't associate negative thoughts, you know, like sadness or depression, or, you know, that cycle that we all get in sometimes of just torturing ourselves with the same thought that we know is just like, you know, a knife into our mind. So that's really important as well, that they recognise that. Sunlight, you know, we're all so scared of the sun, and lack of the sun is a toxin for sure. As a sports chiropractor, I can tell you that spinal problems are toxins, okay? They come from sitting, they come from falls that we've had years or decades ago. They come from lack of exercise, okay? They can also come from chemical and emotional issues as well. So, yeah, we go through those toxins, and I focus quite a bit on, especially considering there's usually more women in the group than men, personal hygiene products, perfume, makeup, lipstick, creams, and then domestic cleaning products, how high in toxins they are. And we often don't think about that. We don't think about our sheets and what we're washing them in, our clothes and whatever. So we go back to nutrients. I define the nutrients, okay? With the detox at our retreat, we won't actually physically do it. We'll pass the methods of how to do that. So you might see me here sweating this morning. That's a really important part of my detox every day. Okay, so waking up after 8 hours of sleep and having at least a litre or more of water. Okay, I'm travelling at the moment, so I can't do my normal routine, but it usually would be lemon, garlic, ginger and turmeric with a bit of coconut oil if you can to help the absorption of the turmeric, followed by exercise. Okay, so the water obviously flushes out your lymph glands and you know, helps you urinate and get those processes, the elimination process is going fast. And then the exercise is just incredible, just to sweat. Not enough people are sweating these days. Okay, not enough people are doing exercise. So that sounds really basic, doesn't it? You know, like detox exercise, but it really is true. Yeah, and from what I learned with my process is that, you know, there's an ascending order of difficulty, tissues that are, you know, more and more difficult to remove toxins from. So traditionally skin and blood are very easy, okay? Then I guess imagine if you just come in contact with toxins, whether it be the mercury or, you know, there's a lot of workmen these days having contact, for example, with, you know, the substance they have when they're painting, then, you know, it'll go blood, skin, kidneys, liver, brain, and then, you know, sexual organs like testicles, etc. But they're the ones, that's the order of difficulty in removing them. So I believe that as you remove toxins, you know, it might go from the blood and the skin, they pass out, then the ones from the liver and the kidney go into the blood and the skin, and few of the ones from the brain come down. That's why it's so long. It takes a long, long time. And, you know, we're seeing detox programs of a couple of weeks. It depends what you have, obviously, but, you know, realistically, if someone's over 30 and they've lived on, you know, in a busy city, for example, for a long time, it's going to be very difficult. It's not that quick. Yeah. But neither is losing weight when we go to the gym or, you know, getting fit either. So it's just patience. What I see is a lot of people don't have that patience and discipline.
Yeah.
So going on from that, what do we talk about? We talk about the importance of coffee enemas, which are very important. You know, coffee goes through the portal venous plexus back to the liver. The liver makes glutathione S-transferase, which is, you know, it's a very strong antioxidant, but it's also a very strong chelate or chelate. And that helps, you know, firstly, the coffee actually helps the liver release toxins, and then the glutathione helps remove them. Yeah, so there's that. And then when it's necessary, people would have to go back and they'd have to go on some sort of pharmaceutical chelation program. Okay. Infrared saunas we talk about scrubbing the skin, which is also important, but it really does depend on the degree of toxicity that each person presents with. We can recognise the incredible detox capacity of the liver and the kidney and our organs. These days, it's pretty hard to have people that aren't intoxicated at all.
And I mean, the reality is the majority of those people are now living in those busy city lifestyles. So are you finding an increasing amount of people participating in your seminars and workshops because of the increasing amounts of toxins in our lives?
Yeah, well, they've only really just started, like I've been going a year on it. So that's what's encouraging. But I love it. Within the first 10 or 15 minutes of talking about health and putting a different light on it, you're like, well, recently we gave one actually up the New South Wales coast. And it was the time of day that we did. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So the girls have come with their bottles of wine. And even though they were having a sip of their wine, they did stop. And you can tell, being the speaker, you can tell how you're engaging everybody. And it's gratifying. You can see it. People want it. The thing is, if we want to learn about health, where do we go? Who do we speak to? Do you know what I mean? Because most of our well-meaning, responsible doctors and health professionals are actually focusing on disease. They're disease specialists, and they'll tell you that, a doctor's degree, you'd be lucky to get 2 to 5 hours of nutrition in a whole 5 or 6 year course, but that's not their fault. That's our fault. We actually look at those people and we think, okay, they'll be able to help with my health. No, they'll help you diagnose your sickness and might help you with the symptoms of your sickness, but only focusing on health will ever help your body have the force to cure any illness. I truly believe that. I've actually been through that recently with my mum with lung cancer, and it was time to apply everything I learnt, with all these people. I actually brought her back to Brazil not long after getting the diagnosis, and in 2 months' work we had ozone, we had magnets, we did fecal transplants, we did IV drips, we did interferesis, which is a process of removing heavy metals through the feet in a little bath. But the point was that in that time, her tumour, her primary lung tumour, which is already stage 3B, reduced by 5%. Okay. So then we got home, and unfortunately, that's another thing really important. We had her on a really low, I had her fasting. So I had her on foods that with a low glycemic index, and she lost weight very fast just through eating well, So that was good. That was the chance firsthand to test all of this and see. I had quite a bit of pressure on my shoulders as well, but that's what I believe. I've always seen that. People get sick and they focus on their illness, and that will never get them better.
I completely agree. If we focus on treating the cause and not the symptoms, and nourishing ourselves from the inside and taking a more preventative stance, then so much disease can actually be avoided.
I love to compare light to health, okay, and shade or darkness to lack of health. Okay, so when you think about it, if you've got a room and a part of that room has got some shade on it, let's say from a lamp or a chair, and you want to make light get there, you'd never focus on the shade. You never focus on the darkness. You'd have to put light onto it, and that's exactly what we have to do in our body. We've got to focus on the health, because it's lack of health. I always say this as well, like what's the one, jokingly, but what's the cause of disease? There's only one. And I'll go, I don't know. And they'll have a lot of guesses who say lack of health. Lack of health. With a few, very small percentage of genetic disorders.
And to your point, there is so much information out there on how to treat the disease rather than looking at the root of the cause. And we've really got to shift the way we look at this if we are able to make any progress, right? Okay, so you're the official chiropractor to the World Surfing League. You run multiple clinics across South America, as well as treating patients in Australia. You've launched orthopedic product ranges, natural hygiene products. You're an author and a health presenter with Fox Brazil. So with all of that, I'm really curious to know, what does a typical day look like for you, or is there no such thing?
Well, yeah, you've actually done your research there. Good on you. That all sounds impressive, but when you just do too much, nothing really works as well as it should. But what would a typical day do? Look, probably putting out fires if I'm in Australia and there's things going wrong in South America, to tell you the truth. But every day I'm on the phone when I wake up, and I've got, 15, 30-minute call to Brazil and Peru. And then for me, it's exercise first, prioritise that. Prioritise your morning routine, which is so important. Meditation, if you can. I'm using something at the moment called Brain Tap, and I'd highly recommend anyone listening to check that out. That is something that balances your brain waves. So, for example, in 20 minutes, I can get to a state of alpha or theta brain waves that someone would have to probably meditate for 10 years to get to. So that's very, very powerful. That really prepares you for the rest of the day. And then after that, it depends on what country I am. I do travel quite a bit. I'm one of the official chiropractors of the WSL. So if for an event, there'll be a certain routine. I'm in South America at the moment. There'll be another routine there, and Brazil and Peru are different ones. And back in Australia, I've been working a few days a week at a place called The Well in Bondi, which is great. There's some great natural therapists down there. And hopefully always organising the next workshop or retreat. That's what I really love.
Yeah.
That's where you can really affect people's lives, because, when people come in for a half an hour consultation, it is harder. They've got their next appointment in mind, or picking the kids up from school or whatever. But when you get them for a weekend and you just sit down and talk about how their life could be and all the things in life they love, how much they depend on your health, and you just put in a different perspective, you really get people's attention and you get big changes. So that's where the whole coaching thing comes in, because workshop, retreat, and then guidance. It's like everyone needs a coach. That's what I've realised as well. We need a coach. No football coach meets a team at the start of the season, says, hey, I want you to do this, this and this, and hopefully I'll see you at the grand final. That'd be like someone saying when we're younger, look, do this, this and this to look after your health. Hopefully I'll see you in good health at 80. It's not the way it is. We're humans. We need continual tips and guidance done through the right way, and introduction of new techniques and nutrients at the right time as well. Normal weight's a very small aspect of it, but it's important. And that's actually what attracts a lot of people to health, losing weight, because it gets to a stage where their body's showing visible signs that they're in dysfunction. And then everything used is to take that person back to function, normal function. So remember the definition of health: homeostasis, 100% normal function. So things that will do that, whether it be mind, as I mentioned, the brain tap and meditation or yoga, whether it could be a physical problem that may need chiropractic and, let's say, a combination of osteo and muscle things combined with exercise and yoga as well. Or it could just be basic movement, getting people moving again. See, as a coach, you really have to see what phase people are at, what their goals are, and give them easily obtainable goals in short term.
And what's on the upcoming agenda for anyone interested? When is the next workshop or seminar that you're hosting?
I'm aiming for one in September. If it's not September, it should be October, probably around Lennox Head on the north coast there of New South Wales. People like it up there. It's pretty central. It's close to the airport at Ballina, and I like it up there as well. So it's just a good place. That's actually what I've got mine at the moment as a future health area that you could work from and just get people in on a day. When you think about it, people lose their health, and where do they go? If they lose it badly enough, they'll go to hospital. Why not have a similar type situation where you look after people, however many days are possible, to get them to a level of health they're happy with? And again, returning health, restoring it comes in phases. So, you do that, check in again a month later, and then they might come back again, or it might just be a call over, Zoom or Skype like this. But it takes a while. I know that from my own situation, whether it be the spinal problems or emotional problems, mental problems, physical, biochemical problems. It does take a while, because we've got to realise it's been a long, long time to get to that situation. So we just have to invest the time to get better. And obviously the environment that made us sick will never make us well. So we need to look at what in our environment has made us sick and just focus on that. I honestly don't think it's hard because I've done it. You know, a lot of people who haven't done it often think that it's a lot harder than what it really is.
Yep, and the proof is in the pudding, right?
Exactly. You know, and I feel I'm about to turn like 50 next year, so I feel amazing and I actually feel better than what I did at 30. So it's just something you want to share with people.
Wonderful. Well, there is one more thing you could share with me today, Jason, and that would be your favourite wellness hack.
Well, right now for sure it's the brain tap, okay, because not enough people are appreciating the importance of their brain. You know, like where do we go for brain health? So that combined with diet's obviously important. I've got so many, you know, as I said, a simple one before was just the water, lemon, ginger and garlic in the morning. That's a really easy one for people to do. And then things like, you know, it's cold back home in most of the states in Australia at the moment. So, you know, a nice Epsom salt bath's excellent as well for detoxing. I guess self-nurturing is always very important as a hack, isn't it? I mean, look, as I said, hack-wise, I could be here all day, but sleep's important. You know, people can't think that they can manipulate their natural biological clock, you know, due to work or partying or anything else and not have their health suffer. So just try and get as many good hours of sleep. And another one I'd say, which is a strong one for me, is alcohol. Alcohol is not an element on the food pyramid. So start to think about that as well. Too many of us have it too regularly instead of what I see culturally over here, which I admire, is just having it, you know, on a special occasion and not abusing when we have it, because it really does have a very strong effect on our health, especially our gut health. You know, our gut probiotics hate that, you know, and our acidophilus and all the other ones, they don't go well with alcohol.
So true.
So there you go. I time I can sit here and give you, you know, like 1,000 little biohacks because I love them and they've changed my life, and I love learning about new ones as well.
Perfect.
You know, I will say one thing. A lot of people also get one or two biohacks and think that the biohack's going to compensate for inadequate base of health, you know, for example, diet or lack of exercise or lack of sleep or being stressed out. And it's really important we start with those. You know, that's probably the most important biohack. Take it back to the basics. You know, sleep, movement, exercise, good diet, okay, removing toxins from your life, and then you're way ahead. And then you're probably ready and your body will respond better to any other additional biohacks you introduce after that.
So many good ones. Thank you. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today, Jason. It's been incredibly insightful, and I know I'll definitely be implementing some of these hacks myself. Guys, head to wellbeingjace.com to learn more, and I'll have all the show notes on mywellnesspie.com/biohacking and detoxification. Thanks again, Jason.
Unreal, all the best, Monica. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for joining us on My Wellness Pie. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to subscribe to the show and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. I'd be very grateful and would love to hear from you. And if you want the details from any of the episodes, have questions, or want to get in touch, head to mywellnesspie.com. Thanks again, and I hope to see you next time.